Sansa. "He wouldn't send Sir Loris," Sansa told Jane Poole that night as they shared a cold supper by lamplight. "I think it was because of his leg." Lord Eddard had taken his supper in his bedchamber with Aelin, Harwin, and Vayon Poole, the better to rest his broken leg, and Septa Mordane had complained of sore feet after standing in the gallery all day. Arya was supposed to join them, but she was late coming back from a dancing lesson. "His leg?" Jane said uncertainly. She was a pretty, dark-haired girl of Sansa's own age. "Did Sir Loris hurt his leg?" "Not his leg," Sansa said, nibbling delicately at a chicken leg. "Father's leg, silly. It hurts him ever so much it makes him cross. Otherwise I'm certain he would have sent Sir Loris." Her father's decision still bewildered her. When the Knight of Flowers had spoken up, she'd been sure she was about to see one of old Nan's stories come to life. Sir Gregor was the monster, and Sir Loris the true hero who would slay him. He even looked a true hero, so slim and beautiful, with golden roses round his slender waist, and his rich brown hair tumbling into his eyes. And then father had refused him. It had upset her more than she could tell. She'd said as much to Septa Mordane as they descended the stairs from the gallery, but the Sceptre had only told her it was not her place to question her Lord Father's decisions. That was when Lord Baelish had said, "Oh, I don't know, Septa. Some of her Lord Father's decisions could do with a bit of questioning. The young lady is as wise as she is lovely." He made a sweeping bow to Sansa, so deep she was not quite sure if she was being complimented or mocked. Septa Mordane had been very upset to realize that Lord Baelish had overheard them. "The girl was just talking, my lord," she said. "Foolish chatter. She meant nothing by the comment." Lord Baelish stroked his little pointed beard and said, "Nothing? Tell me, child, why would you have sent Sir Loris?" Sansa had no choice but to explain about heroes and monsters. The king's counsellor smiled. "Well, those are not the reasons I would have given, but—" He had touched her cheek, his thumb lightly tracing the line of a cheekbone. "Life is not a song, sweetling. You may learn that one day to your sorrow." Sansa did not feel like telling all that to Jane, however. It made her uneasy just to think back on it. "Sir Ilin's the king's justice, not Sir Loris," Jane said. "Lord Eddard should have sent him." Sansa shuddered. Every time she looked at Sir Ilyn Payne, she shivered. He made her feel as though something dead was slithering across her naked skin. "Sir Ilyn's almost like a second monster. I'm glad father didn't pick him. Lord Beric is as much a hero as Sir Loris. He's ever so brave and gallant." "I suppose," Sansa said doubtfully. Beric Dondarrion was handsome, though he was awfully old, almost 22. The Knight of Flowers would have been much better. Of course, Jane had been in love with Lord Beric ever since she'd first glimpsed him in the lists. Sansa thought she was being silly. Jane was only a steward's daughter after all, and no matter how much she mooned over him, Lord Beric would never look at someone so far beneath him, even if she hadn't been half his age. It would have been unkind to say so, however, so Sansa took a sip of milk and changed the subject. "I had a dream that Joffrey would be the one to take the White Hart," she said. It had been more of a wish, actually, but it sounded better to call it a dream. Everyone knew that dreams were prophetic. White Harts were supposed to be very rare and magical, and in her heart she knew her gallant prince was worthier than his drunken father. "A dream? Truly? Did Prince Joffrey just go up to it and touch it with his bare hands and do it no harm?" "No," Sansa said. "He shot it with a golden arrow and brought it back for me." In the songs, the knights never killed magical beasts. They just went up to them and touched them and did them no harm. But she knew Joffrey liked hunting, especially the killing part. Only animals, though. Sansa was certain her prince had no part in murdering Jory and those other poor men. That had been his wicked uncle, the Kingslayer. She knew her father was still angry about that, but it wasn't fair to blame Joff. There would be no blaming her for something that Arya had done. "I saw your sister this afternoon," Jane blurted out, as if she'd been reading Sansa's thoughts. "She was walking through the stables on her hands. Why would she do a thing like that?" "I'm sure I don't know why Arya does anything." Sansa hated stables, smelly places full of manure and flies. Even when she went riding, she liked the boy to saddle the horse and bring it to her in the yard. "Do you want to hear about court or not?" "I do," Jane said. "There was a black brother," Sansa said, "begging men for the wall, only he was kind of old and smelly." She hadn't liked that at all. She'd always imagined the Night's Watch to be men like Uncle Benjen. In the songs they were called the Black Knights of the Wall. But this man had been crooked-backed and hideous, and he looked as though he might have lice. If that was what the Night's Watch was truly like, she felt sorry for her bastard half-brother John. Father asked if there were any knights in the hall who would do the honour to their houses by taking the black, but no one came forward, so he gave this Yoren his pick of the king's dungeons and sent him on his way. And later these two brothers came before him, free riders from the Dornish marches, pledged their swords to the service of the king. Father accepted their oaths." Jane yawned. "Are there any lemon cakes?" Sansa did not like being interrupted, but she had to admit lemon cake sounded more interesting than most of what had gone on in the throne room. "Let's see," she said. The kitchen yielded no lemon cakes, but they did find half a cold strawberry pie, and that was almost as good. They ate it on the tower steps, giggling and gossiping and sharing secrets, and Sansa went to bed that night feeling almost as wicked as Arya. The next morning she woke before the first light and crept sleepily to her window to watch Lord Beric form up his men. They rode out as dawn was breaking over the city, with 3 banners going before them. The crowned stag of the king flew the high staff, the direwolf of Stark, and Lord Beric's own forked lightning standard from shorter poles. It was all so exciting, a song come to life, the clatter of swords, the flicker of torchlight, banners dancing in the wind, horses snorting and whinnying, the golden glow of sunrise slanting before the bars of the portcullis as it jerked upward. The Winterfell men looked especially fine in their silvery mail and long grey cloaks. Alyn carried the Stark banner. When she saw him rein in beside Lord Beric to exchange words, it made Sansa feel ever so proud. Alyn was handsomer than Jory had been. He was going to be a knight one day. The Tower of the Hand seemed so empty after they left that Sansa was surprised to see Arya when she went down to break her fast. "Where is everyone?" her sister wanted to know as she ripped the skin from a blood orange. "Did father send them to hunt down Jaime Lannister?" Sansa laughed. "They rode with Lord Beric to go behead Sir Gregor Clegane." She turned to Septa Mordane, who was eating porridge with a wooden spoon. "Septa, will Lord Beric spike Sir Gregor's head on his own gate or bring it back here for the king?" She and Jane Poole had been arguing about that last night. The Septa was horror-struck. "A lady does not discuss such things over her porridge. Where are your courtesies, Sansa? I swear of late you've been near as bad as your sister." "What did Sir Gregor do?" Arya asked. "He burned down a holdfast and murdered a lot of people, women and children too." Arya screwed up her face in a scowl. "Jaime Lannister murdered Jory and Hayward and Will, and the Hound murdered Mycah. Someone should have beheaded them." "It's not the same," Sansa said. "The Hound is Joffrey's sworn shield. Your butcher's boy attacked the prince." "Liar," Arya said. Her hand clutched the blood orange so hard that red juice oozed between her fingers. "Go ahead and call me all the names you want," Sansa said airily. "You won't dare when I'm married to Joffrey. You'll have to bow to me and call me Your Grace." She shrieked as Arya flung the orange across the table. It caught her in the middle of the forehead with a wet squish and plopped down into her lap. "You have juice on your face, Your Grace." Septa Mordane came lurching to her feet. It was running down her nose and
Lord
stinging
Father
her
will
eyes.
hear of this.
Sansa
Go
wiped
to
it
your
away with a
chambers at
napkin.
once.
When she saw what the fruit in her lap had done to her beautiful ivory silk dress, she shrieked again. "You're horrible!" she screamed at her sister. "They should have killed you instead of Lady." Septa Mordane came lurching to her feet.
Your Lord Father will hear of this. Go to your chambers at once. At once.
"Me too?" Tears welled in Sansa's eyes. "That's not fair."
The matter is not subject to discussion. Go!"
Sansa stalked away with her head up. She was about to be a queen, and queens did not cry. At least there were not people who could see. When she reached her bedchamber, she barred the door and took off her dress.
The blood orange had left a blotchy red stain on the silk.
"I hate her!"
she screamed. She balled up the dress and flung it onto the cold hearth on top of the ashes of last night's fire. When she saw that the stain had bled through onto her underskirt, she began to sob despite herself. She ripped off the rest of her clothes wildly, threw herself onto bed, and cried herself back to sleep. It was midday when Septimore knocked on her door. "Sansa, your Lord Father will see you now." Sansa sat up.
"Lady,"
she whispered. For a moment it was as if the direwolf were there in the room, looking at her with those golden eyes, sad and knowing. She'd been dreaming, she realized. Lady was with her, and they were running together, and trying to remember felt like trying to catch the rain with her fingers. The dream faded, and Lady was dead again. "Sansa!" The rap came again sharply. "Do you hear me?"
"Yes, Septa," she called out. "Might I have a moment to dress, please?"
Her eyes were red from crying, but she did her best to make herself beautiful. Lord Eddard was bent over a huge leather-bound book when Septimore marched her into his solar, his plaster-wrapped legs stiff beneath the table. "Come here, Sansa," he said, not unkindly, when the scepter had gone for her sister. "Sit beside me." He closed the book. Septimore returned with Arya squirming in her grasp. Sansa had put on a lovely pale green damask gown and a look of remorse, but her sister was still wearing the ratty leathers and rough spun she'd worn at breakfast. "Here is the other one," the scepter announced. "My thanks, Septimore. I would talk to my daughters alone, if you would be so kind." The scepter bowed and left.
"Arya started it,"
Sansa said quickly, anxious to have the first word.
"She called me a liar and threw an orange at me and spoiled my dress, the ivory silk, the one that Queen Cersei gave me when I was betrothed to Prince Joffrey. She hates that I'm going to marry the prince. She tries to spoil everything, Father. She can't stand for anything to be beautiful or nice or splendid."
"Enough, Sansa." Lord Eddard's voice was sharp with impatience. Arya raised her eyes.
"I'm sorry, Father. I was wrong, and I beg my sweet sister's forgiveness."
Sansa was so startled for a moment she was speechless. Finally she found her voice.
"What about my dress?"
"Maybe I could wash it?" Arya said doubtfully.
"Washing won't do any good," Sansa said. "Not if you scrubbed all day and all night. The silk is ruined."
"Then I'll make you a new one," Arya said. Sansa threw her head back in disdain.
You couldn't sew a dress fit to clean pigsties."
Her father sighed. "I did not call you here to talk of dresses. I'm sending you both back to Winterfell." For the second time, Sansa found herself too stunned for words. She felt her eyes grow moist again.
"You can't,"
Arya said.
"Please, Father,"
Sansa managed at last.
"Please don't."
Eddard Stark favoured his daughters with a tired smile. "At least we've found something you agree on."
"I didn't do anything wrong,"
Sansa pleaded with him.
"I don't want to go back."
She loved King's Landing, the pageantry of the court, the high lords and ladies in their velvets and silks and gemstones, the great city with all its people. The tournament had been the most magical time of her whole life, and there was so much she'd not seen yet, harvest feasts and masked balls and mummers' shows. She couldn't bear the thought of losing it all.
"Send Arya away. She started it. Father, I swear it. I'll be good. You'll see. Just let me stay and I'll promise to be as fine and noble and courteous as the Queen."
Father's mouth twitched strangely. "Sansa, I'm not sending you away for fighting, though the gods know I'm sick of you two squabbling. I want you back in Winterfell for your own safety. 3 of my men were cut down like dogs not a league from where we sit, and what does Robert do? He goes hunting." Arya was chewing at her lip in the disgusting way she had.
"Can we take Syrio back with us?" "Who cares about your stupid dancing master?" Sansa flared. "Father, I only just now remembered I can't go away. I'm to marry Prince Joffrey."
She tried to smile bravely for him.
"I love him, Father, I truly do." I love him as much as Queen Nerys loved Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight, as much as Jonquil loved Sir Florian. I want to be his queen and have his babies.
Sweet one, her father said gently, listen to me. When you're old enough, I will make you a match with a high lord who's worthy of you, someone brave and gentle and strong. This match with Joffrey was a terrible mistake. That boy is no Prince Aemon, you must believe me.
He is,
Sansa insisted.
I don't want someone brave and gentle. I want him. We'll be ever so happy, just like in the songs. You'll see. I'll give him a son with golden hair, and one day he'll be the king of all the realm, the greatest king that ever was, as brave as the wolf and as proud as the lion.
Arya made a face. Not if Joffrey's his father, she said. He's a liar and a craven, and anyway, he's a stag, not a lion. Sansa felt tears in her eyes.
He is not. He's not the least bit like that drunken old king.
She screamed at her sister, forgetting herself in her grief. Father looked at her strangely. Gods, he swore softly. Out of the mouths of babes. He shouted for Septim Dane. To the girls he said, I'm looking for a fast-trading galley to take you home. These days the sea is safer than the King's Road. You will sail as soon as I can find a proper ship with Septim Dane and a complement of guards. And yes, with Syrio Forel if he agrees to enter my service. But say nothing of this. It's better if no one knows of our plans. We'll talk again tomorrow. Sansa cried as Septim Dane marched them down the steps. They were going to take it all away. The tournaments and the court and her prince, everything. They were going to send her back to the bleak grey walls of Winterfell and lock her up forever. Her life was over before it had begun. Stop that weeping, child, Septim Dane said sternly. I am certain your lord father knows what's best for you.
It won't be so bad, Sansa, Arya said. We're going to sail on a galley. It'll be an adventure. And then we'll be with Bran and Robb again, and old Nan and Hodor and the rest.
She touched her on the arm.
Hodor?
Sansa yelled.
You ought to marry Hodor. You're just like him, stupid and harry and ugly.
She wrenched away from her sister's hand, stormed into her bedchamber, and barred the door shut behind her.
What the hell, Sansa? What did Hodor do to you?
Right? That was harsh.
Hodor is just there trying to do his job, and Sansa's
hating on him.
Oh, but my god. She still blames it on Arya.
Yep.
She can't admit it. But her sweet, sweet Joffrey could have done wrong.
Joff.
Yes, Joff.
Joff in private.
Mm-hmm. No, he's not a stag. He's a lion.
And I'm going to give him golden-haired babies.
Oh my god, it's...
Ned's reaction to that was pretty interesting.
Ned's reaction probably is what my reaction would be. It was like my reaction when I first read the chapter. He's just saying what we're all thinking, just gods. Really?
Out of the mouths of babes.
Must be even worse for him. I mean, this is his daughter. Like, I'm gonna give him lots of babies. Like, Jesus, I don't want to hear about this.
He's not a stag, he's a lion. Beautiful golden lion. Okay. God.
I don't think she was listening to Peter Baelish when he told her, life isn't like the stories, my dear.
He literally told her, like, life is not like the songs.
Mm-hmm. So...
He shouldn't have picked He should have picked Sir Loras, but not for the reasons you think.
Yeah. And also, wow, way to just insult us older people. She's like, oh, but he's so old. He's 22.
I know, that had hurt me.
What do you mean, old?
That hurt me. I know.
I'm ancient then.
I know.
You know what's terrible is when you're reading these books as an adult and you realize you are closer in age to Eddard than you are to John or Danny or any of these other characters.
Oh yeah, we are now. Huh?
Yeah.
I was gonna say no, Danny, we're close, but I forgot she's actually like 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's not necessarily a bad thing because they are kind of young. Who's the oldest out of them? It would be Rob, who's
I think Theon, right? Isn't Theon like 16?
yeah.
So
I think Rob's 16 too, though.
no, him and John are closer in age.
I thought John is 14, he's 15. Theon's also like Rob's age, somewhere in there, close enough to
right.
where I would just say they were the same age. Either way,
I would also argue that Viserys has got to be like 16, 17.
yeah, because he was 2 when everything happened, or
Yeah.
3?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, so he's
16,
like 3
17.
more, yeah. So, okay, either way.
Which actually kind of puts it maybe in perspective a little bit with Viserys. Like, yeah, he's a total douchebag, but he's also a 16-year-old kid.
He's an angsty teen.
But no excuse for being abusive.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but
anyway. I'm not giving him an excuse. Everyone's very young in this book.
Littlefinger taking like special consideration to talk to Sansa and like pay attention to her, just like, oh,
and after
like the songs, Sansa.
And after we've learned about how he felt about her mother,
yeah,
it's kind of weird,
right? Because
like,
she's described as looking like exactly like Catelyn.
Mhm.
Like she's the one that looks the most like Catelyn.
Exactly.
It's a
So
little creepy.
He's just like my second chance.
Right.
You look just like your mother.
My vicarious love.
Yeah.
Like
I couldn't have her, so I'll have her daughter.
It's a little gross.
Yeah.
It's a little gross.
It is, but that's also kind of what they're trying to do with Robert and Lyanna, with Marjorie.
Like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but at least Marjorie isn't like
age today.
Yeah, but at least Marjorie like isn't Lyanna's daughter.
That's true.
There's you know what I mean? There's not that factor to it.
That's true.
This chapter is actually very telling if you pay attention.
Yeah.
It kind of like is like,
and Eddard ready to ship him out.
Yeah.
So you gotta expect that Eddard knows something's coming.
Yeah,
he's getting a little dangerous.
He's freaked out. So she's freaking out because now she can't marry Joffrey, and it's terrible. But Arya, you can take Syrio with you if he wants to come.
Yeah.
Like, Arya, that's all Arya cares about. She's like, I'll go back, but can Syrio come with me? Because I don't care.
I was born to dance, father. You can't take him away from me. She can dance if she wants to. She can leave Sansa behind.
And catch cats all day if she wants to catch cats. Because they ain't no cats of mine. Speaking of cats, goodbye, yes. Doda.
She looks like she was getting ready to get down anyways. But yeah, I think this is just... This chapter makes you think. It annoys you a little bit with Sansa and her naivete. But makes you think, with Eddard sending them away. Peter Baelish, telling her not everything is like the song.
Yeah.
And obviously the little creepy thing, like...
What's
Baelish's game?
Right, what's
trying to get that, or...
Yeah, what's he doing? Or is it purely protective because she's Catelyn's daughter? Is he just trying to, like, look out for her? But he also, like, touches her.
Yeah, that's the creepy part.
And, like, she doesn't want to tell Jane Poole about it. Which makes you think, like, the situation made her uncomfortable. She doesn't want to tell Jane Poole what happened.
Yeah. I'm sure if it was Sir Loras, though, it would have been different. He touched me.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. I think...
Never mind, who's Joffrey? I don't care.
I think it's very interesting how Martin describes what happens through Sansa's
rose tinted glasses.
Yeah, she's like, are they gonna put his head in a spike like they do in the songs? Like that's a little
Right? Yeah, that part.
a
That was a little
like
messed up.
Sansa, you're kind of violent, man.
What songs are you listening to?
And I did
Like,
think
if that's the songs you're listening to, you should probably know that things don't work out.
yeah.
Maybe they do work out like they do in the songs. Maybe Baelish is wrong if that's what she's listening to.
Yeah, maybe the songs are accurate. Maybe they're not totally full of crap.
Maybe Sansa's listening to Westerosi death metal. You never
Perhaps. What else? What else? I thought it was we got some more of that like fire and ice imagery, the blood orange, like the whole White Walker staining red thing, because the blood orange stained her dress bright red.
Yeah.
It was like ivory white, and she threw it in the fire.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
It wasn't in the fire wasn't burning, but it was the fire had gone cold and the hearth was cold.
Yeah. But that was another point I wanted to bring up. What is Arya's game here? She was a little bit too nice about everything. Like, yeah, she threw the blood orange, but that's fair enough. Like, your friend who was murdered, you just got told that he was the reason he got murdered.
There was no, there was no
she
justice.
was justified there.
Yeah.
But then
got no justice.
But then when she talks to Eddard, she's not like, this bitch right here was talking about Micah. No, she was like, yes, I was wrong, Father, I apologize. How may I make it up? It's like, that's not Arya. Arya, what is it? What are you hiding?
Maybe she's just happy that she's going back to Winterfell. She can take Syrio and she can get out of King's Landing. Maybe
he didn't tell her that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She's just like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Maybe she was just worried that Eddard was going to say you can't continue training with Syrio.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe she's worried like Meadle would get taken away.
Maybe, yeah.
But didn't he already have that conversation with her about how the pack survives, but the pack survives, but the lone wolf dies? Didn't he already have that talk with her? So maybe she's just trying to be like a good sister now, and she was like, I messed up, and I did ruin her dress. Like maybe she genuinely just kind of feel bad about it now that she's had time to think about it.
Maybe.
I don't. Maybe not.
I'm gonna go with the Syrio thing. I think that's more of it.
Probably. She doesn't want to have to stop dancing. Probably.
And I think that's about it. You know, we haven't had an Arya chapter in a while, now that I think about it.
I know, and this was like the most Sansa chapter ever.
I know.
Joffrey, I love him.
We learned a lot, but it was just... Sansa, why?
Also, you notice she's like really classist. She's like really classist. She's like, Sansa felt bad for her bastard half brother, John.
Oh yeah, and her friend Jane Poole.
Yeah.
Like,
for her, she'll never get to marry like Beric Dondarrion.
He would never marry someone of such low-born standards.
Oh dear, thank God.
But she didn't say that.
Don't say anything. You're gonna have to edit this image out.
Oh.
See?
Yeah.
Hang on. Sorry.
But she didn't say it, so kudos to her for having the restraint.
But she did think it. She's very classist. She very much drinks that Kool-Aid.
100%. But I don't know. It's just like, I know she's supposed to be like this naive girl, but you think at this point, with all the other stuff, especially with the Micah thing, she would have learned a little bit about things, you know, like Lady dying and all that.
Yeah, she had a dream about Lady.
Yeah.
And it was so real that she thought Lady was back.
Alive.
Yeah.
That's gotta be sad.
That is sad. Poor Lady.
I know.
The one
I don't know. You would think
really...
like something would have sunk in. At least with the Micah thing. Maybe she wouldn't have said that to Arya, but
well, she even says
still she's so
Joffrey loves hunting.
Yeah, it's frustrating with Sansa.
It is. It just shows you, like, she is. I mean, everyone to a certain degree, I think, in the books is naive, but she is, like, really naive.
It's not even naive, but just denial about
Yeah,
what she
yeah.
learned. She doesn't want to learn from what she goes through.
Yeah, that seems to be it, doesn't it? She
Yeah.
just is not taking in anything that's happening. She's just so
But
blinded by.
but then again, as we saw in the last chapter, and kind of happened in this one with Peter Baelish. Peter Baelish comes and talks to her and, like, things aren't like the stories, hint hint, wink wink.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And last chapter it was Eddard with Varys, and Varys was like, maybe you shouldn't have done that, hint hint, wink wink.
Yeah, like, maybe you should change your mind and let Sir Loras go with them.
Maybe
Tyrells
Sansa isn't the only one who's a bit naive in this situation here.
Yeah, I feel like Eddard is not good at politics.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he's not good at being a detective.
Yeah.
Because,
I think he is very good at politics. I think he's good at being a detective, but he has to be honorable in
no,
everything he does.
I don't think he's a good detective because I think he should have figured it out by now.
But he did figure it out.
Well,
But then
but it took longer than it should have taken.
I don't know, he went and saw the two kids and then was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, but he still hadn't figured it out. Because we had those point of view chapters with him after, and he still hadn't figured it out.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, either way. So who's the next chapter?
Eddard.
Eddard, okay.
So I guess we'll see if he's figured it out.
So yes, next time we'll see if Eddard has figured out what he should have figured out a long time ago. Or is he still pulling a Sansa?
Only time will tell.